Welcome. In a previous video I went over the procedure to install WordPress on an AWS Lightsail instance running Ubuntu and Nginx. And then I made a video on SSL and checking the SSL certificate and configuration and things like that. And I'll put a link in the description of those two videos. In this video I'm going to talk about setting up swap on this instance. So this is the site, it's demo.rickmakes.com. And if I go into my Lightsail instance, and if you remember the first video, we set this up with 512 meg of RAM. And you can pay more money to get more RAM, but 512 is going to work for us for this light use WordPress instance. But sometimes, like when you're running updates or different things, it may run out of RAM. So what we can do is we can set up some swap, and swap or virtual memory is used to take the place of RAM. So what it'll do is it'll take some of your RAM and store it on the hard drive, and it frees up the RAM, and then it can replace it later if it needs to use that RAM again. So what I have here is I'm logged into the instance in a terminal, and I'll see if I can get my notes on the screen at the same time. Got my notes over here, and I'll put a link in the description to my website with these notes on it, so you don't have to type them in off of my screen. You can just copy and paste them. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to run this first command, sudo swap on -- show, and this will show us any swap that's on the system, and nothing comes up because we don't have any swap right now. Next we can type df space -h, and this will show us our hard drive capacity. So here, if you look down here, look for the one with the G next to it, which is gigabytes. So this is dev, and it's XVDA1, and we have 18 gigabytes free. So, and this is an SSD, it's a 20 gigabyte SSD they allocate for you, and we're going to use 1 gigabyte of that for our swap. So I'll clear the screen here, and next we're going to run this command. It's sudo fallocate -l 1g and then /swap file. So this will allocate 1 gigabyte for our swap file. We'll run that, happens instantly. And next we'll change the permissions. So only root has access to this. And then we can type ls space -lh and then swap file. And we see here we have 1 gigabyte, and we have read write by the owner, which is root. And root. So that all looks really good. And then we can make a swap file here. So it's sudo mkswap and then our swap file. And then we can turn swap on with the next command. It's sudo swap on /swap file. And then if we run this sudo swap on show again, it will show our swap is set up now. So we have swap running now, but you want to have swap running when you reboot. And right now if we reboot, it'll go away. So I'll select this next line. It's sudo nano /etc /fs tab. And I'll push down to the next line, and I'll copy in this next line, which is a swap file. Let's see. So we have swap file, space none, space swap, space default, space 0, space 0. I'll hit enter, and I'm going to type Control-O to save and Control-X to exit, and that will allow the swap to work after reboot. And now we'll change a few parameters because we don't want this to swap all the time, just when it's really needed. So if we look at these two parameters here, this is the swappiness and the VFS cache pressure. These are set to 60 and 100, and we want to change these to 10 and 50. So I have these next two lines. It's sudo sysctl space vm.swappiness equals 10, and then we have sudo sysctl space vm.vfs underscore cache underscore pressure equals 50. So we've set those parameters, but then to make those permanent, we'll type in sudo space nano space /etc /sysctl.conf. And that brings up this config file. We'll scroll down to the bottom here. And we'll enter these two lines. And it's vm.swappiness equals 10 and vm.vfs_cache_pressure equals 50. Type Control-O to save and Control-X to exit. And now we have this set up so I can reboot the machine and we can check those parameters and make sure everything's still back up. So if you're new to Linux, you might get a little nervous doing these kind of things. You can go into your Lightsail and go to snapshots, and you can take a snapshot before you change anything on your system. That way, if you screw something up, you can always revert to a snapshot. So that's not a bad idea. I haven't really made a video covering that. Maybe someday I'll do that. But that's just something to consider. So it'll probably take a minute for this to come back up. Okay, it's back up now. I'll clear my screen. We'll do the swap on show, and we have swap up now. And I'll run these two lines so we can look at the swappiness and the VFS_cache_pressure are 10 and 50 respectively now. So everything's set up. So now if we say run an update on the server or doing something that takes a little bit more RAM, it's not going to crash the machine or cause any big problems. So if you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.